This isn't just smoke a few joints on the couch and hope your cancer goes away. This is a very strategic approach to treatment of a serious medical condition.
Doctors said that this little girl had weeks to live. Months later, she's not only alive, but doctors say she's healthy with the help of a medication that was illegal just a few years ago. Good evening, everybody. I'm Lee Goldberg.
And I'm Amanda Hill. We share so many stories, it seems, of cancer that doesn't end well, especially in children. But this little girl from Bethel has started to change the ending that seemed to have been written for her.
Yeah, like what her idol did in Super Bowl 51. Haley Stewart is ready to engineer a real-life comeback for the ages.
When was the last time you ate candy? I don't remember.
Yesterday.
10-year-old Haley Stewart has been battling leukemia for half her life, a long, difficult battle. Haley would go into remission, then cancer would come back, then remission again, and so on. In May, the cancer got far more aggressive. After spending a month in Boston for treatment, hoping to get well enough to qualify for a bone marrow transplant, doctors delivered the news no parent should ever hear.
I was lost. It was the hardest thing I ever heard in my life, other than hearing the word that she had cancer, and then to find out that there was nothing that they could do to help her.
Haley had cancer cells in 60% of her bone marrow. She'd be coming home to hospice care and to be kept as comfortable as possible. The Stewarts were approached many times during Haley's struggle to consider using cannabis oil to help with her pain relief. Since her life expectancy was downgraded to a couple of weeks, it was time to try.
She's my world, and I'm like other families that go through and have gone through what we've gone through or worse. Our kids are our lives, you know? And to think that there's nothing we can do for them, especially as a mom, I had to try something.
No more steroids, no more fentanyl, just cannabis. For Haley, who's possibly the biggest Tom Brady fan in the world.
Hi Haley, Merry Christmas. It's Tom Brady.
This was
out as the president's chief of staff. President Trump about 10 minutes ago tweeting, and I'll read it. I am pleased to inform you that I have just named General Secretary John F. Kelly as White House chief of staff. He is a great American. John Kelly, of course, Homeland Security Secretary of late. Let's go to NBC's Andrea Mitchell in Washington, who has been watching this power struggle. Not hard to see this coming in some form or fashion, Andrea.
Absolutely. Reince Priebus has been on the ropes for months now, and certainly after the attack from Anthony Scaramucci, the new communications director, a blistering and profane attack, it was very clear that he was on his way out, and certainly the departure of Sean Spicer, who came in with Reince Priebus, clearly the president blaming him for not being tough enough, certainly could be blamed for the lack of a legislative strategy on health care, the repeal of Obamacare. John Kelly is, of course, this is a president who says, I love my generals, and John Kelly, loyal and very strong in enforcing his immigration policy, the executive orders that were very controversial. Also, just on a personal level, this is a man who is a Marine. He joined the Marines in 1970, served on active duty, of course, in 3 wars, and has given the ultimate sacrifice of his son, who was also a Marine, and he has a second son now headed to Afghanistan. His daughter works for the FBI. This is a family of public service. In an interview with our own Pete Williams recently, and last week, in fact, in Aspen, Colorado, at a security conference, he said that retirement was kind of getting boring, that he missed public service.
All right, Andrea, stand by. Let me go to Pete Williams now, who, as you mentioned, spoke to the General Kelly at the Aspen Security Conference last week. What was your take on him? Any indication that this was something under consideration?
No, and I was talking to Homeland Security officials just last night about various things. I think this is coming as a surprise to them. My guess is that this was offered to the general just very recently, within the past several hours. But he's somebody who believed, he thought his public service career was over, but then he got the call and he thought this was the right thing for him to do, to be Homeland Security Secretary. And he's had the point for the president on the immigration issue, but also generally the Homeland Security portfolio writ large. He was the one, after all, who put in place this new requirement for security for carry-on electronics around the world, first starting with 10 airports in the Middle East and Africa, and now requiring all airports that have flights into the United States to up their game on security. I would assume, Lester, that the Homeland Security Department will now be led by the woman who's been the Deputy Secretary. She will assume become acting, Elaine Duke. She was Undersecretary for Management in the department from 2008 to 2010. So she's been around the block at least once with the Department of Homeland Security. And now the president will have to nominate someone else and get another new member of his cabinet.
All right, Pete Williams, thanks. As you were speaking, the president tweeting again, he says he'd like to thank Reince Priebus for his service and dedication to his country. We accomplished a lot together. I am proud of him. Again, President Trump delivering this major news, as he has delivered a lot of news of late via Twitter. Again, the headline, Reince Priebus is out as Chief of Staff for President Trump. General John Kelly, Secretary of Homeland Security, is in. We will have continuing coverage, of course, on MSNBC and NBCNews.com. I'll see you in just a little while for more on NBC Nightly News. Until then, I'm Lester Holt in New York. Have a good day, everyone.
All right, welcome back. We apologize for the abrupt interruption there, but we are back.
Well, you know what, and Haley has had so many interruptions in her little life. One little breaking news report's not going to slow her down or our story. So we're going to start it from the beginning. A lot of you have been asking to see the rest of this, and now you can. From the beginning, the story of Haley Stewart.
When was the last time you ate candy? I don't remember.
Yesterday.
10-year-old Haley Stewart has been battling leukemia for half her life. A long, difficult battle. Haley would go into remission, then cancer would come back, then remission again, and so on. In May, the cancer got far more aggressive. After spending a month in Boston for treatment, hoping to get well enough to qualify for a bone marrow transplant, doctors delivered the news no parent should ever hear.
I was lost. It was the hardest thing I ever heard in my life, other than hearing the word that she had cancer, and then to find out that there was nothing that they could do to help her.
Haley had cancer cells in 60% of her bone marrow. She'd be coming home to hospice care and to be kept as comfortable as possible. The Stewarts were approached many times during Haley's struggle to consider using cannabis oil to help with her pain relief. Since her life expectancy was downgraded to a couple of weeks, it was time to try.
She's my world, and I'm like other families that go through and have gone through what we've gone through or worse. Our kids are our lives, you know? And to think that there's nothing we can do for them, especially as a mom, I had to try something.
No more steroids, no more fentanyl, just cannabis. For Haley, who's possibly the biggest Tom Brady fan in the world.
Hi, Haley. Merry Christmas. It's Tom Brady.
This was her Hail Mary at the end of the game.
First, it started that we were doing it to keep her comfortable and to hopefully have as much time as we could with her. And weeks turned into more weeks, and then we noticed that her levels started coming up.
So much so that Haley's doctors at the Maine Children's Cancer Program couldn't believe it.
Dr. Larson was astonished and asked me, he literally asked me if I was giving her any of her old chemo to see if that was the reason why she was doing so well.
After about 8 weeks of the cannabis treatment, that 60% cancer in her bone marrow dropped down to 15%. The cancer was going away.
And there's always a few cases where we do see this spontaneous regression of the cancer.
Dr. Dustin Sulak was brought in to help with this new part of Haley's treatment.
Haley's type of leukemia is one that's been known through previous publications in the literature and certainly in animal studies to respond well to cannabinoids. So she had a good shot for not just having an improvement in quality of life, but actually having a change in the trajectory of her treatment and her course.
All of the product needed to make Haley's medicine, which would cost between $3,000 and $6,000 per month, is donated by the community. Brian Breton is with Maine Children for Cannabis Therapy, and he's in charge of making the meds.
People have asked us all, how much does she smoke in a day? And this little girl doesn't smoke anything in a day. We are extracting the oils from the cannabis plant to a very scientific product with lab equipment and putting this into little gel capsules for her.
Even proponents of cannabis treatment are quick to point out that the oils should be brought on board as part of the solution, but not the solution alone.
This is very powerful. It's exciting. There's a lot of hope for the future of cancer treatment, because this is just such a win-win situation. It's protecting the healthy cells, it's targeting the cancer cells. It's been shown to help the effects of chemotherapy and radiation, and it makes those treatments way more tolerable. So I can't imagine anyone with cancer that wouldn't be a good candidate for cannabis as a part of their treatment.
So far, the cancer has shown no signs of getting worse, and while the Stewarts are not out of the woods just yet, there seem to be a lot fewer trees.
I'm scared to think that it could come back, you know, because I don't want to feel what I felt 2 months ago ever again, or even I can't see myself, I can't see my life without my daughter. I just can't. And that's what kept me doing everything I possibly could, not giving up on her.
Maine Medical Center says in a statement, "We support patients and families who wish to explore a range of options to complement their individual care plans. There is currently no comprehensive scientific data to suggest that cannabis has any direct anti-cancer effect. Patients and families continue to be best served by well-researched and clinically proven treatments."
Best of luck to her
Absolutely.
in the future. Okay, a dog in York County is alive tonight after some quick work by a York County Sheriff's deputy.
Yeah, Chris Costa shows us how a controversial medicine might have saved that dog's life.
I'm so glad you're okay.
It's a scary moment for any parent.
On the floor, I saw scattered candy wrappers and a couple of pill bottles. A little spoiled.
Leslie Mallard Reynolds discovered her dog Addie and 25 oxycodone pills missing from a bottle that had been chewed open.
So I knew that something needed to be done or there would be dire consequences.
Trying to induce vomiting with hydrogen peroxide did not work. None of the veterinarians nearby had any type of drug to reverse a possible overdose.
I'm a registered nurse, so I wasn't totally freaking out, but still, it's my baby puppy.
On her way to an emergency clinic, she spotted York County Sheriff's deputies.
And so I put on my flashers, I stopped, waved for them to come over.
She was almost pleading to the point of, we need to do something for this dog. And when she asked me to administer Narcan to her dog, I was really taken aback.
Sergeant Dave Chevette had never given the overdose reversal drug until then.
This is actually the first time I've ever used Narcan. There's no decision to be made. We just go ahead and do what we have to do and hope and pray for the best results.
In this case, it worked, saving Addie. She means a lot to Leslie, since all of her children are now grown.
I'm really glad he saved my little puppy.
To any true animal lover, dogs are like their kids. Happy endings are good. Oftentimes in law enforcement, we don't get that.
If he hadn't been there, he was, a lot of people say, where are the cops when you need them? And he was right there.
Good girl.
Sergeant Chevette's totally Addie my hero.
In Lyman, Chris Costa, News Center.
Now, Leslie brought Addie to a nearby vet center where they fed her charcoal to induce the vomiting, which ended up working.
If your pet ever gets potentially poisoned, though, veterinarians say to call the ASPCA poison control line because usually only larger emergency vet centers carry overdose reversal drugs like naloxone. Police officers across the state are now training on how to give naloxone to their canine partners just in case they inhale a lethal substance during a search.
It's a good idea.
Yep.
All right, coming up after the break.
Now, maybe we can get over that and start talking about how to fix it. And there are things that need fixing.
Senator Angus King is back in Maine defending his decision to vote against the skinny repeal of Obamacare. And he's praising the Republicans who went against their party.
Mr. Peters.
That no vote by former Republican presidential candidate Senator John McCain was the final nail in the coffin of the so-called skinny repeal of Obamacare. McCain, along with Senator Murkowski and Maine's own Senator Susan Collins, were the three Republicans to go against the party line and vote down the bill.
All right, we caught up with another no voter this morning, Independent Senator Angus King, as he flew back into Maine. He posted on his Facebook page this morning praising the three Republican senators who voted against their own party. The post says, in part, like I said, I love John McCain. A couple of weeks ago, a friend in Maine had given me a mint condition John McCain action figure, which I passed on to him just off the Senate floor late Thursday afternoon. It's easy to stand up to your opponents, but it's hard to stand up to your friends. Now it's time for all of us to work together to fix the ACA and the deeper issues of high medical costs to make health care affordable and accessible for all Americans.
Now, Senator King is an independent, Senator Collins is a Republican, yet on this issue, and notably with some of the president's nominated cabinet members, they both voted with the Democrats. That leaves some Mainers wondering what party their elected officials stand with.
Somebody showed me one of these charts of your voting record, you know, compared with other people. I'm 48th in the Senate, either 48th most liberal or 52nd most conservative, however you want to put it, in the middle. Doing what you think is right is what we're hired for. And if somebody believes that you should always make the decision based upon what your party tells you to, we're in trouble in this country. I mean, that's one of the problems with the country, in my view.
We did also speak with Senator Collins, and you'll hear from her coming up tonight on News Center at 6 o'clock. All right, still to come on Now.
It breaks my heart because I just don't understand why somebody would do this to my family.
A family says it thought their dog was euthanized, but then they found her up for adoption. What led to this strange reunion after the break?
And Keith will be doing double duty. He has the full forecast and brain drops when we come back. All right, Keith is back.
Well, he's
Keith
here.
is here.
We haven't seen him
well,
yet. We saw
We had a couple of interruptions. Good
Yeah.
story, Lee, and some special reports. We've had 137 special reports in the last 2 months, so
Yeah,
that's
fair.
something.
It's been a Friday.
Let's do some weather. Do some weather. Nice day today, huh? Look at this, 84 officially in Portland. It was a very brief period of time before the wind shifted, but did pretty well. 79 in Rockland. That's way over the projected guidance for today. I didn't hear anyone complain, though. Really nice day. Sunny conditions, just a few high, thin clouds over the southern fourth or so of the state. Interesting reminder that this was the European computer model on Monday for today's forecast. It was a 4-inch rainstorm, perhaps the worst swing and a miss I've ever seen from this model. Just glad it wasn't high stakes winter forecasting when it happened. And there is, by the way, a coastal storm out there, but it will be tomorrow and it will be well to the south of Maine. That's really the main feature in our forecast going forward, is this big coastal low. Again, the rain is going to miss us, but I have to believe with a low of this magnitude just to the south and east of us on Saturday, we're going to catch some of the clouds along coastal Maine through the day tomorrow. I just don't see how all these clouds are going to be just tight to the system and away from Maine. So we'll call it partly cloudy along the coastline tomorrow, nice and sunny across the interior into the mountains, and certainly in northern Maine. That coastal low moves away on Sunday, and Sunday's a beautiful day, as they have been, with north winds that at least at first will fight off the sea breeze. We might get a little localized sea breeze in the afternoon, but Sunday is a brighter day than Saturday along the coastline, and it's also a warmer day, and begins a pattern for a couple of days, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, that high pressure dominates. It's generally dry, and it gets warmer and warmer and warmer as the heat kind of builds under this ridge of high pressure. So hour by hour forecast tonight, partly cloudy conditions, temperatures drop into the 50s and 40s in the mountains. Tomorrow morning, we've got a little bit of that cloud cover. You can see the computer models hinting at what I was thinking, but I think the clouds will be a little bit farther onshore through midday tomorrow before clearing out tomorrow afternoon and tomorrow night. And again, Sunday, beautiful day, basically from start to finish. High temperatures tomorrow, generally in the mid-70s, low 70s in Rockland and Bar Harbor around 75. So it won't be as warm as today. Basically a nice day, but I think Sunday's better. After that, we start warming up in a big way on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Upper 80s away from the immediate coastline. And we may catch a warm day even along the coast on Wednesday if we can fight that sea breeze. That's always the big question. But if you pick this as a vacation week, good call. Good call. Every once in a while, you hit it dead on. It looks really nice. I don't see anything until maybe late next week. Next weekend looking unsettled at this point, but then again, it's 7 days away. So first things first. The Sundays, I have to go back and look at this now. I feel like we've had 6 or 7 Sundays in a row that have been spectacular.
Yeah.
Well, no complaints on that one.
Add another one to that.
All right, sir. Well done. All right, so this is a bizarre story for you. Now, there's a family that thought its terminally ill dog was put down months ago, only to find out that their boxer, Zoey, was up for adoption on a shelter's website.
Zoey is back home in Utah, but now there are a lot of questions about how this could have happened. The dog's owner says she asked her father to take Zoey to the vet for euthanasia, but that was because she had a tumor and was seizing. The vet says she explained to the man Zoey could be perfectly fine with some surgery, but the man insisted the dog be put down. He denies this conversation ever happened.
So the vet decided to take the money that was given to her for the euthanasia and use it instead for the life-saving surgery. She didn't think that the family wanted the dog, so she put it up for adoption.
In my professional opinion, this was a dog that had years to live, and I didn't want to put the dog down. I was trying to save its life.
Why didn't you call the family?
I screwed up. I should have called the family. Had I any inkling that they might at all be interested in having the dog back, I for sure would have called. But given my conversation with Mr. Coates, that just seemed very obvious to me that they didn't want the dog.
The family is thrilled to have Zoey back, and the vet says she saved this dog's life by disobeying protocol. No word on whether or not the Utah Veterinary Board will take any legal action.
That's a tough one. All right, Keith Carson is back with some brain drops.
All right, guys, today's brain drops is something you may have heard before. If you hear thunder and then you divide by 5 the number of seconds it takes, that's how far away it is, the thunderstorm is. So the premise here is when you see the lightning, you wait and you count and then you divide by 5. Well, how does this work exactly? Well, lightning travels at 300 million meters a second. So it's basically instant from the lightning bolt to your eyeball. Sound, however, travels a lot slower. Sound travels about 340 meters a second. So there's a gap there between the instant of it hitting your eyes, the lightning, and the sound getting all the way to you. We talked about heat lightning about a week ago. It's the same kind of situation there. So this is how the equation ultimately works out. You have to convert miles to meters because the rest of the world uses meters instead. It's about 1,600 meters. If you take 1,600 meters and divide it by the speed of sound, you end up with 4.73 seconds. So it's close and you're rounding up. The idea is that about 5 seconds per mile is what the sound wave then travels. This is a good rule of thumb to use during the summertime and can help with safety to give you an idea of how far away the thunderstorm is. One thing to remember though, Lee and Amanda, is in theory, if you can hear thunder at all, you can still be struck by the lightning. So it doesn't necessarily matter how far away it is. It's just a fun nerd thing to do.
He's clearly zoning out, but I was listening. I was paying attention.
I thought Keith was throwing into commercial.
All right, thanks,
Why don't you do
Keith.
that?
We'll be right back.
I'll be over here.
Okay, not quite 20 years yet, but this is one of your last days at News Center. Chris Ficini, everyone recognizes this face.
Hey, how you
Who's
doing?
been with News Center for so long.
Yeah, he's our Brock Holt. He's our utility guy. It's like, you know, reporter, sure. Bureau chief, got it. Want me to be an anchor? I'm all over. Want me to be a boss? I can do that too. I mean, is there anything you don't do?
I sweep the floor, set the live trucks up. Do we have live trucks anymore? Yeah.
That's your phone.
That says it all.
Yeah,
it's
exactly,
your phone.
exactly. No, wow, yeah.
But you're leaving us.
Yeah, and you know what? I got to get on this set with you guys. First and last day
Life,
here in Cleveland.
life
So that's
goals.
awesome. Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
No, guys, it has been, you know, it's been such a great ride. 20 years, I can't believe, you know, how quickly that's gone by. But it's certainly been a pleasure, you know, working with you guys and all these great viewers out there.
And you've truly been all over the state.
Pretty much everywhere.
I've made the rounds. You
Last
can
day
say that
is
about
Monday?
me. Monday.
All right, so big Ficini Palooza on Monday. We'll be
Leaving
watching
for the
that.
public relations field.
That's right.
There you
All right,
go.
we
All
will
right,
miss you,
Fish.
Chris. Much more at 6.
Good
Right
man.
now, News Center at 5:30 starts.